The podcast you're about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off. Welcome to I Had to Say It, the podcast where I not only say the things I need to say, but the things I think you need to hear. And your feelings, they're not a factor. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. We're going to start out as we do by saying Josh, B-Word, Iceman, Jason, Miss Aaron, Mike, Tabby, Javier, Fitz, McShane, El Jefe, El Devlin, El Morte, and the guys from the Weathered Report. Thank you for your continued patronage. It means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. All right, so we'll start out with a little light housekeeping here. I want to say, first off, thank you to everyone who reached out to me about the thing I mentioned last week's episode, talking about the spice blend I want to start launching. I am going to be going forward with the Kickstarter campaign to try and get the funding together to get this spice line off the ground. I really think they are going to be a very solid offering. I'd like to think I know what I'm kind of doing after all these years, and it's just something I enjoy that I want to share with people. And if I can put a little extra change in my pocket in the process, all the better. So I have to do some math. I have to go back and get some exact figures from the packing company that I'm going to be using, the co-packers, to process the spice blends and have them packaged for me to find out exactly how much capital I need to get started. And honestly, the way I've already been looking at some things and crunching some numbers, and the way I'm thinking about it is we'll have the entry tier, because as I understand it with Kickstarter, you set up tiers and you do little rewards for the people who want to support your project. And with the entry tier, I think what we're going to do is everybody's going to get a sample of Aaron's general purpose rub, and then we'll set up a couple other tiers depending on how much you want to donate to the project. You'll get like 3 samples, 5 samples, the entire line sample kit. If I get anybody that wants to be like really crazy, ridiculous generous, maybe I will do a custom spice blend and name it after you or something. I mean, who knows? We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We'll see if I can actually drum up the funds to get this little project off the fucking ground. There are different tiers. One of the things, just for kind of an update for everybody. Now, when I originally developed these recipes over the years with lots of trial and error, lots of tweaking, tuning, and getting them exactly the way I like them, I did everything in volume, teaspoons, tablespoons, et cetera, et cetera. And so all the ratios are all figured out in volume. The packing company I am going to be using needs everything done by weight. So I have to go through and make a batch of every single one of these blends, scaling out every single ingredient in grams to make sure the numbers are accurate so they can be readily scaled to have a consistent product come out, and so they can do volume production and subsequently make sure all the ratios are right. So when we break it up into individual pack size volumes, the mix still comes out tasting right, which may be more information than some people care about. But honestly, I'm kind of stretching things to this week because despite the fact that I do have something to talk about, in terms of the scale of the way things have been going in the country lately, it was actually kind of a slow week. I mean, a lot of the same shit's going on, and I still have some thoughts on the matter. But, overall, nothing really dramatic or crazy happened this week. So I figure I can go into a little more depth on something that I am trying to make happen, instead of being just somebody who's being passive about letting life happen to them. I'm going to try and grab life by the nuts and run with it. Now, I'm going to just put this out into the ether, and another one of those, like, let's see some feedback kind of things. So this episode will be coming out on Tuesday the 7th. The following Saturday, which is May 11th, I will be possibly doing like maybe a 45-minute to an hour kind of roundtable live discussion thing. I'm not actually going to stream it, but if there is any interest, anybody that wants to have an input into this project, anybody that has any thoughts, ideas, wants to sit down and bullshit and hash some things out, I'm thinking like 8:30 Central Time, maybe 9 o'clock Central Time. Just setting up I'll have a link, and anybody that wants to come to the chat can DM me, and I'll send it to them. And just kind of have a bullshit session and get some thoughts, some feedback on anybody that might want to hop in here and have their 2 pennies. Anybody that might have some advice or some guidelines they wanted to share with me. Or, any requests or questions that I might have for me to answer before they want to decide one way or the other. So I'm thinking, like I said, just keep an eye on the socials. If I do decide to go ahead with this, kind of got to play it by ear based on how life treats me between the time of this recording and the potential time of doing this roundtable thing on Saturday. So we'll play it by ear. Watch the Twitter X posts was probably going to be the place where I'm most active, or if you're on the Discord server, I'll throw something out in there. Pretty much those are the only 2 places I'm really active in terms of social stuff anymore. So keep an eye open. I will announce if we're doing the little roundtable session or not. And I would love to hear from you guys. I would love to hear feedback. The feedback I've gotten so far has been very supportive, very encouraging. And it's kind of funny to, this kind of goes against when I'm doing my little Aaron constantly doubting himself stuff. To hear you guys say, well, no, we think there's enough people in this community that would help support you that we can probably get this thing rocking and rolling. And like I said, I like to think I do actually have the skill set to make this a worthwhile venture. So that is kind of just an update on where we're at with that stuff. But yeah, so on to the meat and potatoes of the thoughts I'm having this week. Now, there's a lot, going on where it's just the same old bullshit. The government's still lying. The current administration is still trying to spend more and more money they don't have. Sleepy Joe's still up there talking about, I'm going to forgive this student debt. I'm going to forgive that student debt. People are popping up, oh, I've got my student debt forgiven. Well, you know what? Congratulations. You're a parasitic piece of shit. You were bought and paid for, and you're stupid enough to think you deserve it for some fucking reason. So, frankly, I hope you get what you got coming. I hope you get the life you deserve. But the thing I've really focused on is the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas bullshit protests are still going on. They're not really showing any signs of abating, despite the fact that in several cities, police have come in, busted the things up, sent people home with, a little bit more than a hug and a teddy bear, and I'm all for it. To borrow something from Freebird of the Motor Cop Chronicles podcast, I'd get the damn water hoses, get the fire hoses. I'm with you. Get the damn water cannon, knock these motherfuckers. They could probably use a bath anyway because, let's face it, they're probably not the most hygienic bunch on the planet to begin with. But they're out there, and they're out there pandering and panhandling because, yes, they got set up and funded by Soros. And it's actually come out, it's more than just Soros. Apparently, there's Soros and the Gates Foundation and a couple other leftist assholes groups are out here funding these little organizations. The vast majority of the people getting arrested are not actually affiliated with the colleges they're being arrested at. Anywhere from like 35 to 65% of the people arrested have no affiliation with the campuses they are being picked up at. The colleges are canceling graduation ceremonies. So the same kids that didn't get a chance to have high school graduations back in 2020 because of the lockdowns are now not going to get their college graduations either. I mean, it's just a subset of kids that are just getting thoroughly fucked by this consistent bullshit because it's really looking like it's shaping up to be the Summer of Love Mark II. The police are bracing for dangerous conflicts, and these groups that are out here like pandering and going on social media posting, we need your support, send us these supplies. They want trauma kits, they want gas masks, they want helmets, they want, armor, they want pads, they want vegan meals, they want all kinds of ridiculous shit because, other than getting the initial thing kickstarted, they're not getting consistent funding. And a lot of these assholes, as I look at them and I think back to protests, even when I was a kid or before I was a kid, when people actually had to go out and risk jeopardy to make a change in the world, to have a stance, to try and protest against an idea because they were trying to do something because they believed it was the right thing, which is the first key element missing from the vast majority of these current quote-unquote protests, is an actual serious commitment and belief to a cause. these little camps that are being set up across these college campuses are like actively trying to convert college students into Muslims. They've got them doing Muslim prayers and just being completely indoctrinated to this bullshit in the name of supporting Hamas and fighting the threat to the Palestinian people. And these fucktards are consistently comparing the people of Gaza, and I feel for the people of Gaza. I don't feel bad for Hamas or the government of the Palestinian nation, because you poke a bear, you get bad shit happens to you. My sympathy is tempered for that group, and I've said it repeatedly. The U.S. doesn't need to be meddling in these affairs because all the humanitarian aid is getting co-opted by the Hamas forces to, instead of helping the people of Gaza, it's funding the fight, and that's just the way it is. But we have all these fucktard ultra-liberal morons here on these college campuses, which are literally indoctrination farms. They are not teaching kids to be critical thinkers. They're not teaching them to be leaders. They're teaching them to be obedient followers who wait for their masters to tell them what they should believe, what they think, and what they should do, and then they execute those commands. And it's really telling, because a lot of people have made jokes about it for a long time. I've complained about it to the past, particularly, and it's a lot to do with young people in general, but more so over with the ultra-left, ultra-radicalized individuals that are currently the current iteration of liberalism, where they can't explain these things that they claim to be passionate about. They cannot argue or elocute the point to what they are mad about. They can't tell you why. I mean, there's all kinds of video clips of these people. They cannot enunciate why they are there, why they are protesting, other than the fact that their individual lives are completely fucking lacking. They have no meaning. They have no cause. They have no drive. They have no defining factor in their lives. So they latch on to these fucking things because that's what their friends are doing, and that's what their professors are telling them they should believe. And that's what, social media is telling them is, oh, well, this is the side you should be on because we're on the right side of history. We can't enunciate or elocute why we believe these things, but trust us, you have to be really passionate about this, because otherwise you're an ist, or you're an ob, or you're a whatever fucking label they're going to try to attach to people to corral them into getting on board with this utter fucking bullshit. And these college campuses have been working for years to create a mindset that is working perfectly as indoctrination stations for these little fucktards, bunch of smooth-brained fucking waffleheads, that you can tell these things are not really thought out. You can tell in the way they react to any kind of conflict or strife that they're not, they think they've been told they're smarter. They've been told they're better than other people by their professors who have been shaping and trying to mold these little fucktards into a potential future communists. That's one of the things. Every single one of these campuses, they've found all kinds of communistic leaflets and printings and copies of fucking Marx and all this other bullshit. And these are the exact people these are the people Mao used to spark the color revolutions in China. These are the people that fucking refugees from China have warned us about. Mao's revolution was started on college campuses, and they're trying to put the same playbook here. Now, fortunately, we still have an armed populace, although the government's doing its damnedest to change that, because frankly, I think the powers that be are run by a bunch of, globalist fucking commie assholes too. So they want to disarm population so they can try and enforce this bullshit out of the campuses, because it worked once, and these motherfuckers really don't learn on the same curve as probably what they should, considering they have all the power, all the influence, and all the rights. So the fact that they don't learn just shows how defective their system actually is, and how unworthy they are of the mantle of leadership or the reins of the fucking society. But they're still going to keep pushing it, and they're still managed to work themselves into these positions of power. So we're stuck dealing with the blowback from this shit. So we have all these indoctrinated dumb motherfuckers and bear in mind, these are the same dumb motherfuckers who are saying, they're out there actively chanting things like death to America. They're burning American flags. They're taking down American flags on campuses and raising Palestinian flags, which in and of itself should be considered treason, because you're not in Palestine. If you're that passionate about the fucking Palestinian people's plight, get on a fucking plane and go the fuck over there. It's the same thing I said about the people who are extremely passionate about we must be funding the bullshit in Ukraine, even though there's literally no way they can win. And they're just trying to hold out till November so they don't have a failed military campaign reflecting badly on the government to point to. They just hold out till November, hold out till December, and everything will be fine. And then you can capitulate and acknowledge the fact that you've lost 500,000 of your, basically breeding age men. Ukraine is going to take generations to recover from the fucking bullshit that they've been pushed through because they've refused to negotiate. They've refused to sit down at the table and say, look, how do we end this peacefully? And that is directly due to the fucking war machine pushing this fucking horse shit. It's basically just more looting the treasury as the fucking empire collapses. But I digress. My point is back to the campus fucktards who, like I said, realistically, all of these assholes should be deported. They want us to pay for their college as they chant about death to America and how we're the evil empire and all this other bullshit. Well, if we're the evil empire and all this other horse shit that you honestly believe, get the fuck out. You seriously don't have to stay here. We don't want you. You don't want to be here because we're so fucking terrible. Go flee to your communist shithole paradises and see how well your life goes. See how happy you're going to be when you're actually in a place where if you don't work, you'll die. See how well you're going to explain your pronouns to that motherfucker as they're taking you up to the top floor of the building to show you exactly what they think of your support. The disconnect is so completely thorough with these motherfuckers. I honestly don't understand how they can be so goddamn delusional. These are the same people that are out here arguing, like, despite all the emerging medical evidence to the contrary, like the 15-year study that showed that gender hormone replacement therapy, mutilating children, is non-reversible, causes sterility, and will ultimately be something that a huge percentage of people grow out of. They're still trying to trans 8-year-olds because, an 8-year-old can't make any decisions about anything else, but they can tell you they were born in the wrong body. And I actually read something that this is really the way I feel about it. This is like the new attack on the gay and lesbian culture, because the study that, like they said, they spent 15 years doing it, showed that the vast majority of people that identified as trans as children grew out of it and just embraced the fact that, maybe I'm just gay. So maybe that's okay. Maybe you're not born in the wrong body. You're just not comfortable with the fact that you like somebody that's got the same plumbing you do yet, because it takes a little bit more maturity to evolve and to embrace that. But again, I'm back to the protests and the assholes on campus that are doing stupid shit and fucking around and playing stupid games and winning stupid prizes. There's been a couple of pretty entertaining clips that have come out this week in terms of these fucking morons. One of my favorites ones is you got a bunch of these guys that are like cosplaying as they all think they're the main character. They don't realize they're all fucking retards, because they cut up a 55-gallon garbage can and made shields out of it. Now, I don't know about you, but I've got a lot of experience fucking around with 55-gallon garbage cans for a variety of reasons. When I was a youth myself, like these college-age fucking idiots, I took a garbage can and I would generally fill it up with ice and put a fucking keg of beer in it and then invite a bunch of random other assholes over to get drunk and do dumb shit. These morons decided to cut them up and make them into shields. Now, I've also cut up 55-gallon garbage cans, and I can tell you, once you crack the actual initial shape of the can, a lot of the solidity of these garbage cans doesn't really come from the material being really rigid or really strong. It comes from the shape and the way they're designed and what they're designed to do. You know what they're not designed to do is be shields. So these fucktard protesters that decided they were going to try and break the police line to escape the protests in New York, or to escape the protest out into the public in New York, because basically the police set up a cordon and said, if you cross this, you're getting arrested. And these fucking idiots, it was like 5 or 6 guys, they all cut up this garbage can and made homemade shields out of glued straps to the back of it or whatever. You could see the things flexing in the wind as they were moving forward. So I really don't know what protection they thought these were going to do. All of these idiots are wearing fucking biking helmets and goggles and fucking dust masks, particle masks, painters masks, rebreathers, that I don't really know if there was actual chemical attacks being done by the cops. I don't know how much protection they're actually going to provide. And I'm saying that as somebody who's worn that shit on a regular basis. I'm recently cleaning some mold out of the house where I didn't want to die, so I'm wearing one of those masks. And I can tell you, I really don't see them being effective against like mustard gas or tear gas or any of that stuff. But ultimately, it's neither here nor there. So these idiots, and they got like their REI backpacks on and their goggles and their bike helmets, and they all go charging at the cops, making a run for glory. They're going to run over these cops and run past them. And it was kind of comical to me because looking at these fucktards, you could tell none of them were really on a first name basis with like running, which really feels weird to say, but they were not like running athletically. And I know it can be kind of awkward holding a fifth of a garbage can in front of your fucking body while you're trying to run because, you know, that's a big windbreak because it's a big flexy piece of plastic. But yeah, no, not like impressive running for the hills either. Like running like guys whose primary source of physical activity is walking down to the cafeteria and getting winded on the way there because you're on your fourth fucking cotton candy vape of the month and your lungs are crystallized with that shit. But, you know, it's better than smoking for you because smoking's bad. And so you instead inhale your candy and it crystallizes in your lungs. And you just have no muscle tone and you're kind of just sad. And I'm saying this is a big fat fuck. But on the other hand, side of that coin, I'm a big fat fuck that's in the gym 4 to 5 days a week. I may not be the best guy in the gym. I'm definitely not in shape. I'm still round. But on the other hand, if I had to run into somebody or run over somebody, I still remember how to run. I can still put enough of a head of steam on that where I'm going to, you know, mass times speed equals force. There is going to be some impact. There's going to be some consequences. These fucking clowns basically ricocheted off the cops, fell over, tried to scurry off into the crowd, got dragged back out under the police line, back and, cuffed and arrested and taken off to be put away. And I laughed really hard when I saw the video. I watched it multiple times because it was fucking hilarious to me. So if you get a chance, you should go out there and find that. That's pretty fucking entertaining as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, and that's another one of these things. And the protesters on the campus getting arrested, a lot of them being unmasked. And the ones, a lot of them that were arrested, the cops have found firearms, they have found ammunition, they have found explosives, they have found all kinds of shit on the pro-Palestinian side when they were raiding these camps. And these are the people that are, we're setting up autonomous zones and we're setting, our rules apply here, not yours. And like, no, that's really not how it works. And if you do think that's how it works, then we're back to the treason conversation and you're probably going to wind up getting put under the jail if there was any kind of actual law in this country instead of one set of rules for thee and another for we. But again, I digress. So we have these fucktard idiots that are setting this stuff up, and something happened over the course of this week that honestly, this is not on my bingo card. It's not something I ever thought I would be saying, but God bless the frat boys because they came out, and they came out in fucking droves. They came out and they took down the Palestinian flags and hung the American flags back up. They came out and counter-protested against the chants that were being put up by the pro-terrorist motherfuckers on all these college campuses. They came out and they sang the Star-Spangled Banner to drown out the fucking protest chants. They came out and they chanted USA, USA, USA as they held the line against these motherfuckers. In UCLA, in the heart of fucking commie California, a bunch of pro-America frat boys, assorted other kind of thick, roughneck sports athlete type guys, they came out and proceeded to start clearing house because the LAPD was basically like, yeah, well, look, we're just setting up a cordon and we're hands off. We're not going to come on the campus. We're not getting involved in this shit. This is y'all's problem. And these guys proceeded to come out, start tearing down the encampments, throwing out tents, throwing out fucking the barriers they were trying to erect, picking shit up, throwing out in the dumpster. And your average Hamas supporting leftist piece of shit, vegan, weak seed, genetically flawed, smooth brain sack of shit, you know, they may feel like they're intellectually superior, and despite the fact that they can't make a coherent argument or really string together two cognitive sentences in a row defending their positions, but they still think they're intellectuals, even though they're really not. They just are a bunch of well-trained parrots that regurgitate the same bullshit that's fed to them by their smooth-brained commie fucking professors. They when they deal with people that are actually in halfway decent physical shape and up, because some of these frat motherfuckers that are definitely football players and basketball players and baseball players that just weren't having it. They were not in the mood. They were not. You're fucking up my day. You're fucking up my high. And you are the motherfuckers that never get invited to the house parties. And we're going to do what we do best. And we are going to bully you into your place because you fucking idiots seem to think the world owes you a favor. And it's time for reality to come along. Bigger, stronger, faster. And we're taking your shit and throwing it in the dumpster. And they did. They came in and they fucking cleaned house. And it's spread all across the country. Every campus where this stuff is going on, there are frat bros and dude bros and gym bros and everything resembling a not spineless, sissified motherfucker stepping up, doing patriotic shit. Right here in Chicago at UIC, there was a guy led a patriotic counter-protest against these people and didn't do anything outlandish, didn't destroy anything. He protested the way you should. He stood his ground. He got a bunch of people doing patriotic shit, waving American flags, telling these guys, this is a beautiful quad, this is a beautiful campus, and you're not going to fuck up our days. You have every right to protest. You have no right to impede other people from doing their business and living their best lives. He led by example. He did a wonderful thing. Good for him. Now, of course, there's no ideal situations, and there's always some blowback or some negativity. And there was some stupid kid in fucking, I think it was an Old Miss campus in Mississippi, and there was a leftist, very, very, very large black woman. And she was out there screaming at the fucking frat boys that were sitting there being all patriotic, and the video clip comes up, and they're calling her Lizzo and a bunch of other shit, which frankly that was fucking hilarious as far as I'm concerned, because Lizzo also happens to be fat and black. In case you're missing the fucking obvious connection here. Me, I don't give a shit. Again, it's not that I don't see race. I just don't fucking care about it. It's not a factor to me. You're a good person or you're a bad person. I don't give a fuck what you look like. You have no control over that, other than the being morbidly obese thing. When you are bigger than me, you are fucking up. That is not something that happens by accidents. That's not something that happens overnight. That is years of self-neglect and laziness. So, yeah, I will fat shame people. I will taunt people that don't take care of themselves and want to be honored and respected for being the beautiful creature that God made them, when realistically you look like a fucking 50-pound sack of potatoes shoved into a fucking 10-pound sack because you're a fat, lazy flop of shit. But I digress. The reason this woman's ethnicity is of any relation to the story is there was one kid who apparently was hopping around and making gorilla noises at her. And so that is, obviously, that's not cool. It's there, and immediately the lefties, oh my God, they're racist. They should all be expelled. They're a bunch of white supremacists. Now, there's also the possibility that this kid was just thinking, this big fat bitch looks like a fucking gorilla, and I'm going to make fun of her for it, because maybe he was thinking he just saw King Kong. I don't know. Whatever it is, it was tactless. It was definitely uncalled for. It was not like a classy way to counter-protest. If he would have stuck to making fat jokes, I would have been totally on his side. But yeah, the monkey noises that's not cool. That's a bit of a stretch. Howsoever, immediately leftist media, they're all racist. No, you can't say everybody that was there was a racist because one kid did something fucking stupid. That's just weak. You have no leg to stand on if that's the best you can come back with is, they're all bad guys because one motherfucker did something stupid and ignorant. And it's not even like he did something stupid and ignorant without any cause or without any consequences to his actions, because he's been ejected from the fraternity and told that's not acceptable to their standards and blah, 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 blah. And okay. Yeah, there's consequences for your actions, and he did something stupid, and yeah, he's paying the price for it. That's how it's supposed to work. These leftist assholes, there are people, why is he not in jail? You know why he's not in jail? Because he didn't do anything illegal. He did something tacky. He did something extremely ignorant. He did something that really shows he's got a lot of fucking growing up to do, or he comes from a shitty background, and he thinks that's okay. Still not fucking illegal. And I take issue with the people who thinks he should be in jail. Well, he said something racist. Yeah, he's allowed to. We have this thing called the First Amendment. The First Amendment does not exist to protect popular speech. It does not exist to protect, favorable speech. It does not exist to make sure that you can say whatever you want as long as you're not hurting somebody's feelings. It exists to protect unpopular speech, to protect ignorant speech, to protect quote-unquote hate speech, because there's no such thing as hate speech. There's hateful speech, there's things that you, and there's speech that you hate, neither of which are fucking illegal. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, if you have a problem with something somebody's saying, that's a you problem. Me personally, I don't want people arrested for words. I don't want people afraid to say what's on their mind because they're worried they're going to wind up in prison for saying words. You know why? Because when people are allowed to show you who they really are, you can spot the assholes a lot easier and you can fucking avoid them. And that's what rational, sane people used to do. Actually, that's what rational and sane people still do, but rational and sane people aren't the majority anymore. Now we are really in the minority. And ultimately, like I said, I prefer to have my shitheadness right out in the front where I can spot it really easy, because then I know who to avoid. Then I know who to stay away from. Then I know who's not going to be somebody I want to encourage any kind of interaction with or any development or growth of a relationship with, because I don't want to be around people like that. But if I'm surrounded by a bunch of people that are afraid to say how they really feel and how they really think and how they really act and how they show you who they actually are as a person because they're afraid of the consequences of if that came out, you could waste a whole lot of time buddying up to somebody that once you actually get to know them, you're not going to fucking like them. I'd rather have my assholes spotted right away so I can be like, no, fuck you, fuck your mama for raising you, fuck your daddy for fucking donating the thin sperm that made you swim out of it, and frankly, I hope your entire family tree fucking withers and dies. But no, don't say bad words. Don't say things that might hurt somebody's feelings, because that's bad. You'll go to jail if you say that, because that's wrong, because words are violence. Well, a lot of those words of violence assholes are learning what real violence is, and, there's going to be a pretty steep curve on this one. And that kind of brings me back to, speaking of learning curves, the other thing that I was thinking about a lot in context of these, protests, bullshit, indoctrination camps that are turning people into a bunch of Islamic weapons that, because they have no real, core or sense of self or identity beyond what their friends and their social media influencers and their professors tell them they should be. No real depth of character, very, very shallow existence in most of these motherfuckers. But again, that's a consequence of being a smooth-brained fuck. But the college professors, the ones, these, ivory tower commies that they seem to believe that if they can push their ideology onto these little smooth-brained fucking mouth breathers, that they are going to somehow build their idyllic paradise. Now, they're going to do this using concepts that have failed everywhere they've ever been tried on the fucking planet, but they think it's going to be different this time. And I don't necessarily believe that they honestly think it's going to be different, but they think it's going to be different because it will behoove them, because they will be in the elite class, they will be in the ruling class, they will be the chosen, because they steered all these little fucking morons into pushing this thing, and they are going to be looked at and revered, not realizing the people that actually control the reins don't like to share their fucking toys with others. And a lot of these people fall into the category of useful idiots. They indoctrinate the youth, they teach the youth, they guide the youth, they shape the youth, they mold them into good, obedient little followers, and then they're no longer necessary, so they're up against a wall with a 7.62 in the back of their fucking heads. And, that's how these things work. You can look at history and see that's how it fucking works. It's not a one-off. It's not, that was a real communism. And it's not, that's just, no, that's because they didn't do it right. That's how the system is set up. Once the little lemmings are fucking shaped and molded, you're not necessary anymore. You're not important. You're not important enough to be somebody. You're just an inconvenience at that point. And you're also competition for who they need to aim that loyalty that you've shaped and molded to. So you become kind of a threat to the power structure that you helped create. And again, you're no longer necessary. You're your last season's blazer. You are no longer the valid accessory that you seem to think you are. You're definitely not that fucking important. Because once the indoctrination is over, they really don't. They have better followers that will preach their philosophy better than you did, because they will have a more pliant base to work with. They don't need, you're a very specialized tool that is no longer useful. And again, you're done. And it's just the fact that these people are so impressed with themselves, so convinced they're better than the average person, so more enamored with their own pseudo intellect that they think this isn't going to apply to them. And again, I don't know why I keep coming back to the whole like main character syndrome that everyone on this planet seems to fucking have, but it seems like such an apt analogy for these things. They really think they're more important and more significant on the grand scale of things than they actually have any capacity to be. And it's going to kind of wind up biting them in the ass if they actually get their way. And it's just utterly ridiculous that they're so busy enjoying the flavor of their own farts that they can't see this shit. But yeah, so that's what's been rolling around in my head this week is I'm just thinking about these protesters and how fucking stupid they have to actually be. Why do they think if they get their way, it is going to end anything other than horribly for them? Other than the active denial of their own fucking senses. The religion of the people they are standing up for does not tolerate any of the values they claim to espouse as little as 3 months ago. These people who's like the Queers for Palestine motherfuckers don't seem to understand the queers are not welcome in Palestine. The Palestinian people and the Palestinian government and Hamas are not going to welcome you with open arms because you supported them. They're going to laugh at you as they're flinging you off of a fucking roof. That's not fear-mongering. That's not hate. That's not ignorance. That's the truth. Because you don't like it, because it doesn't fit in with your worldview, because it hurts your little feels, doesn't change that it's still the truth. The truth is not an objective thing. There's not your truth and my truth and our truth and their truth and his truth and her truth and their truth and all the other bullshit that these motherfuckers want to say. Truth is objective. The truth is not subjective. Feelings, thoughts, opinions are subjective. They are relevant to you and only you. Nobody else gives a fuck about your feelings. Nobody else gives a fuck about your thoughts or your opinions up to the point where as soon as they start infringing upon what they want, people will tolerate you, listen to you, try and make you feel special as long as it's not infringing upon their own self-interests. It's human nature. But the truth doesn't apply to that things. The truth just fucking is. How you feel about it doesn't change it. No matter how much you whine and complain and equivocate about it, it doesn't change it. And that's something we forgot somewhere along the lines. People wanted to say, oh, well, the truth is subjective. No, the fuck it's not. Your perception of things is subjective. Actual truth, the actuality of things, exists independent of your willingness to accept it. And people need to get that through their fucking heads. They need to relearn some basic fucking truths that have been actively stripped out of the system for them. I mean, there's a reason they don't teach people how to be critical thinkers anymore. There's a reason why they try and tell people that their feelings are validation for the stupid shit they want. It makes them easier to manipulate. It makes them easier to control. And it makes them too fucking arrogant to believe that they're being manipulated or controlled. And it's just, like I said, I mean, this feels like so much lately. This feels kind of repetitious, but the world's not learning. People aren't learning from their mistakes. They're not getting any smarter. They're not getting any better. They're not getting any wiser. They're getting fucking dumber, easier to manipulate, and more convinced that they are none of those things. And the arrogance and the just vanity of these dumb motherfuckers. And it's evinced in so many different things in the world. And I've said it before. It's maybe it's time for Gen X to get up off the fucking bench. Well, we're still, I don't want to say young enough to do it, but we're still, we still got enough pep in our step. Well, we're still, I don't want to say virile because there's plenty of Gen X ladies out here that could come and teach these fucking kids a thing or two. And virility to me still kind of has masculine overtones. And because I do still believe in masculinity and femininity, and they're not bad things, and they're not dirty words, and if you got a problem with it, that's a you thing. That's a you fucking problem. So, I guess I'm going to leave you with that little thought, and for now, that's what I had to say. Thanks for listening to another episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, leave a comment, leave a review, leave a rating. Go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com, sign up for the mailing list, interact with the show. Click the links, sign up for the Patreon, join the Discord. Come and interact, be a part of the show. Buy the merch, support your favorite creator, or support me. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Till next time.